For this drawing, we're going to work with setting up boxes. So these are going to be cardboard boxes, whatever boxes you can find, packing boxes. You want to find a bunch of different sizes and get at least 6 or 7 boxes arranged. And the inset image is what I'm looking at. So the whole goal of this one is by drawing, these are exercises to build certain skills. So for this drawing, we're looking at angles and straight lines. The next one we're going to deal with ellipses, which are curves. But this one's going to be really challenging as far as what the actual angles on these boxes are. I would suggest whenever you do your setup that you have more of a down. This is a vantage point where I'm above all of these boxes. That will help to give you more unique angles. If you look across something, like if you're working on a table and you're looking across thing, all of your angles are going to be fairly shallow. So if you put these at a lower vantage point, it really opens up. Can be a little bit more interesting. It can be a little bit easier to try to navigate because not everything is competing for these really shallow angles. You can see as I'm starting off, I'm just working light and loose. I'm not slowing down and trying to get each line correctly. I'm trying to lay out where the boxes are. So box that's in the upper left, I want to put that box in the upper left. Box on the right, I want to make sure that it's where it is. As I go along, I then start to correct and tweak and move lines. You go in and erase. If you say that's not right based off what I see, you're going to shift anything that doesn't make sense. The further along I go, you'll start to see where I take. Well, here's an example. On this corner, the corner of this upper left box corresponds with the upper left hand corner of this vertical white box. So by doing that, I know that it's in the right place based off of what I see. You're going to want to keep your vantage point the same because if you move your head to the left or right, up or down, all of those measurements and angles are going to change. So try to stay in a stationary position. Don't move, because if you move, everything's altered. What I'm drawing is from this one vantage point. I'm flattening out what I see in this picture plane, and I can look at the angles. Here the lower left box, I decided that's not right. So I need to redraw. I need to make the flap on the upper left box a little bit bigger. On this bottom edge for this vertical white, it corresponds almost with that bottom right hand corner of the upper left box. So basically what I'm doing is I'm plotting this out in a 2-dimensional space, trying to capture what I see. Getting these angles. This is all about angles. Is this a 10 degree off vertical? Is this a 30 degree off of horizontal? This whole exercise is built off the idea of trying to measure angles, look at them, and respond to what you're seeing. Working very quickly, light and loose, and you just keep tweaking things. Like I'm making my best attempt at it, but all of this may have to change. So I have to be willing to go back in and erase and move a line. Probably the worst thing that I can do is completely commit to one box and say that's exactly how it's going to be. I want to be open to erasing the whole thing if I need to in order to get it right. And you can see I move from one box to the next. I'm not getting fixated on any one box. And I'm making adjustments. I'm looking, I'm not thinking about these as boxes, but I'm looking at the elements. I'm saying, is this angle right? Is this length of this line correct? Is this slight curve correct? Where does this angle meet up with this angle? And they can be minor adjustments. They can be tweaking it a little bit to the right, tweaking it a little bit to the left. Here I'm this white box that's inside the other box. That front corner, just about aligns with a crease in the box below it. So if I draw all the way through, it gives me a good indication that I'm on track. By additive lines, you start to build up, and some of these tend to get a little bit confusing, so you want to go back through and start to clean stuff up. Like if I have 5 lines that it could be, you need to go back through and you need to make a choice and say, this line is more accurate than the other one. Okay, I think I've got a pretty decent idea where things are. I still have to deal with, I'm not getting there yet. I'm cleaning stuff up. And something that will be important at the end of the drawing is your line quality. So lines that are closer to you and a contour drawing will probably be a little bit heavier so that they pull forward. Lines that are further away will be a little bit lighter. So what I'm doing is this front box, I'm beefing up some of these lines. That pulls that form a little bit closer visually. And I can start to refine. I can start to say, okay, I've done some of my measurement work. Now I want to go back through and kind of clean this up and say, this line is definitely here. Erase all these multiple lines where I'm working things out and kind of hone in on what those lines are and what they're doing. Okay, one thing I didn't deal with is this box in the background, so I'm going to try to put this in. Hopefully it fits. The top of that flap corresponds almost with the top of the flap of the box next to it on the left. So don't be afraid to draw lines through that are measurement lines. We'll get to organizational line later, but don't be afraid to draw through. This is like a it's like a problem that you have to solve, so you might have to put in foundational lines that you then get rid of just to get your bearing on things. So I've just about got that box in the background there. I'm feeling like things are close to where they should be. At the end, I'll overlay this over an image that I took of the still life setup, and you can kind of see where I'm correctly getting angles and measurements and areas where I'm off. All right, I'm cleaning up this box on the right. And again, so you can also switch to a softer pencil towards the end. So at the beginning I was working with my H pencils, and now I'm switching to a B. And you can see as I switch to a B, I can start to go back through, and I can start to consider the line weight, really pulling forward certain lines and letting other lines fall back. Don't worry, a lot of students will get upset that all of their erasure marks and their process is seen. These are actually really great because it shows the process of drawing and responding to what you're seeing. So don't be afraid if this kind of like has all that residue in. It can make it for a beautiful drawing where you're struggling and finding the right lines to draw. Otherwise it can look a little sterile and too clinical. So I'd much rather see somebody who's fighting with a drawing and making corrections than somebody who says, I'm going to do this right on the first pass. Okay, let's compare the drawing to the photograph that I took and see how we did. So what I have here is I've got my drawing and I've overlaid it over an actual photograph, and I'll drop the opacity a little bit. So I overlaid my drawing over top of the actual photograph. You can see that some of the stuff is okay. Like I've got a general sense of like where this box is okay. This box, you know, the locations are pretty good, but I'm off on some of the proportions and angles. So I also went through and did these like red lines, right? So the top of this box, I was pretty far off on that. I exaggerated the scale of this brown box back here. Oops. We can move around. I actually did an okay job of capturing some of the angles on this cardboard box back here, but I'm off on the location where these are located. Box here, not too bad. The area where I'm getting the most distortion is on this extreme, you know, whenever I take a picture of this, the camera tends to exaggerate. It's like a fisheye lens, so you get an extended 3-point perspective. So all of these are really converging. You get a lot of distortion here. Here I'm off on location of the front of this box, and again the proportions of this and the right hand side I'm a little bit off. I'll zoom back out. So overall it's like I didn't do too bad as far as roughing in where these are. I spent about, the video was sped up, so I spent about 20 minutes on this. The video was about 9 minutes, so it was about half time. I expect you to spend about an hour on each drawing, and you're going to do 3 of these and choose your best one. So you'll probably want to do some warm-ups to begin with, and then do 3 finalized all the way through to the end drawings. So you can really take your time and, you know, look at this, and if you need to adjust stuff, correct stuff. So you really want to get a sense of this line weight nicely. I'm going to post some student work so you can get a sense of what other students have done. And that's it. Email me with any questions you might have.